Hi guys, so today I'm going to be reviewing Friday the 13th Part 2. This is a sequel to the very successful Friday the 13th from just a year earlier. And I'm really enjoying going back and watching these Friday the 13th movies because every time I watch them, I'm seeing something new every time, especially as an adult, because there's things that I missed as a teenager that I'm kind of noticing for the first time as an adult. So I'm really glad I'm going back to re-review these movies. And Friday the 13th Part 2 was a really interesting one. It was directed by Steve Miner, who also directed Halloween H2O, so he's a really good horror director. And in this one, I think because this is the introduction to an adult Jason, it was very important to get it right first time. I think what they've done perfectly with this Jason is we didn't see his face until the end of the movie. We knew his face was going to be a little bit messed up because he was messed up as a child, and we don't see a hockey mask in this one. There is no such thing as a hockey mask. Again, that's great. It's a good build up and a good legacy for Jason. We just see the sack, the potato sack I think it is, that he's got on his head all the way through. So it's a kind of mysterious mask, and I really like this one. It's kind of like The Town That Dreaded Sundown, and a little bit like The Strangers as well from 2008 and the 2018 sequel. We get to know a little bit more about Jason and his backstory. We also know a little bit more about Pamela Voorhees as well, and we still get that supernatural element that's coming over from Friday the 13th. And what I mean by that is it seems like Jason is getting his powers, his supernatural powers, from his mother, from his dead mother, telling him what to do, telling him how to kill people, and telling him just to let loose on the kids of Camp Crystal Lake. I quite liked the beginning of the movie. It didn't seem too necessary because it was only a year ago since the first movie came out, but it was giving you a kind of 5 to 6 or 7 minute recap of what happened in the first movie, with the original survivor coming into the first movie, from the first movie to the second movie. But what I do like about this, it was quite something that I've not seen before early on in the horror genre, is that they're getting rid of the original character from the first movie very early on. You don't see that coming. When I first watched it, I didn't see it coming, but when I watched it again, even though I knew it was going to happen, it was still kind of surprising to see it happening on screen. I like that they're building up the mythology of this Camp Crystal Lake. The kids are calling it Camp Blood for short, and it's getting a history behind it, not just before what happened with Jason as a kid, but what's happening throughout the Friday the 13th movies. There's getting a bigger and bigger history for Camp Crystal Lake. Now the characters in Part 2 is just similar to the characters in Part 1. They're all generic characters. We don't mind if they live or die. They're just there to be picked off one by one. What I do like about this one is there doesn't seem to be a final girl or a final character until near the end of the movie. We don't know who's going to be the final girl, because when we see the film focus on one character, we're thinking, right, this might be the final girl who's replacing the girl from the first one, and it turns out she's not the one. So it then travels on to another character, and we're thinking, right, okay, this is the final character, this is the survivor, but no, it goes on to someone else. I don't know if that was accidental or intentional. Either way, I think it was really good. It kept you on the edge of your seat thinking, right, okay, this is the character we need to get behind. And sometimes that can be a negative as well, because we don't know who to root for. And in this movie, we're thinking, right, is there a final character? We just don't know. So again, I don't know if that was intentional. That could be seen as a positive, but it also could be seen as a negative. Another negative for me for this film is it seems like a carbon copy of the first movie. Yes, there is a different storyline, and the storyline is continuing from Part 1, but it just looks like it's the Pamela Voorhees killings all over again, but this time it's her son that's doing it. So that's quite weak for me. I think that the storyline could have been changed a bit, but I think going from what they did in Part 1 to Part 2, they're probably thinking, you know, what's not broken, don't fix it, or whatever. But it was a little bit lazy for me. It was even lazy to the point where some of the killings were almost identical. You've got, for example, in the first movie, Kevin Bacon, after he's finished making love to his girlfriend, he gets a spear through the bed. And although it's not identical, the same thing happens in Friday the 13th Part 2, only this time they're in the middle of doing it, and then a spear goes through the bed and kills both of them. So very similar characters, very similar kills. I don't think this movie is better than the first movie. However, I think that what is better is they're bringing out another character, Jason Voorhees, and they're making him bigger and stronger than Pamela Voorhees, obviously. So if they want to continue the series with another killer, I think Jason Voorhees was the right way to go. And another good point is we still don't know if Jason Voorhees is definitely the killer in this one. He is the story of the camp, and we don't know if he's real or not, because he did die officially in the first movie or before the first movie. So we don't know if he has came back to kill the kids in the camp. So until we've confirmed that Jason is the killer, it's still one of those whodunit movies. Is it this person, is it that person? Because there's things that happen in this movie that you think, right, is that the killer? It could be. And also because of that, that makes this movie kind of special, because it is the last movie in the franchise, part 1 and part 2, that we don't know who the killer is for definite. Or is it, Roy? So what do you think of Friday the 13th part 2? Did you think it was better than part 1 simply because of Jason? I'd like to know your comments down below. What did you think of the introduction to the killer, Jason Voorhees? Anyway guys, thanks a lot for watching again. Thanks for subscribing, and I'll see you soon. Bye bye.